Hi, my name is Gabriel Rosenberg. I'm an associate professor of gender, sexuality, and feminist studies and history here at Duke University. And along with Jan Dutkiewicz, I'm also the author of Feed the People, Why Industrial Food is Good and How to Make It Even Better. It's an exciting exploration of the American food system. We go on a tour of American food coast to coast, from Boston to Iowa to California to Georgia and back to North Carolina, eating our way from coast to coast and discovering many of the problems and also many of the promising solutions to the American food system. We describe the American food system as a food systems paradox. What's the paradox? Well, on the one hand, we might argue that the American food system is the greatest food system that has ever existed in human history. And that's because 365 days of the year, you can go to a grocery and you can find healthy, available, and affordable food. That, of course, has not always been the case in human history. Throughout most of human history, an overwhelming majority of the population had to do grueling agricultural labor just to be able to provide enough food to avoid malnutrition and famine. Malnutrition, famine, those are largely problems of the past in the United States. And as a result, a huge portion of our population is now able to do things that are more productive and to contribute to making iPhones or to making cars or to doing any of the other things that provide us with so much value in our society. Those are some pretty serious strengths. Our food system delivers an incredible variety of food, much of it delicious, some of it nutritious. It does so affordably. It does so with incredible reliability. And yet at the same time, that food system also has some pretty serious problems you probably know about if you read the newspaper. One, it's a major driver of global climate change. Two, workers in that food system are not particularly treated well, and they're usually not paid very well. And third, the American diet is lousy, and that's a primary contributor to metabolic illness and obesity. Our book asks a basic question. How can we preserve the incredible productivity of that food system, which is necessary to provide an affordable diet without increasing costs or requiring more people to work in agriculture and food, and yet at the same time, address the serious problems that the food system has? The conventional answer to that is that we need to go small, local, and all natural. We don't like that solution. We think that on the balance, it doesn't scale and it's not particularly practical. Instead, in the book, we make the argument that modern technology and smart regulations are going to be what's necessary to address big problems at scale. And ultimately, that's a big part of the book. We want to think about how large the food system is, how big our challenges are, and as a result, what are the solutions that are going to scale. We think about it in a couple of different ways, and we offer a wide variety of policies and other kinds of solutions to address these problems in several key facets. One, we want to think about how to make the food system more environmentally sustainable. Two, we want to think about how to make the food system fairer. That is to say, we want to make sure that everybody gets paid a just wage and that they're treated well. Third, we want to make sure that food is accessible. And what we mean by that is that everybody is able to afford a healthy, nutritious, and delicious diet. And fourth, last but not least, we also want to make sure that people have healthy options and adequate information to be able to choose the options that are going to lead to good health outcomes. At the end of the day, above and beyond all of these other things, though, the book makes a serious case for the centrality of pleasure in any effective political movement that's hoping to change the food system. We're not interested in telling people that they have to eat any particular way. Instead, we champion the affordability and accessibility and diversity of a food system that provides a wide variety of options, some that look like farm to fork, Happy Alice Waters food, and other things that might look a lot more like a Waffle House. Our argument is that our energy should be focused on making the average meal a whole lot better. And that means taking seriously the everyday average pleasures that people get at places like Waffle House. That's an argument for what we call democratic hedonism, and it's an argument for placing pleasure, the everyday pleasures of food, at the core of a movement that wants to transform the food system to make it more affordable, more environmentally sustainable, and healthier for absolutely everyone. I hope you read it. I think it's a great book, and I think you'll enjoy it.